listening to Jai Long, and this is Make Your Break. Whether you're a big-hearted creative or an aspiring entrepreneur, let's take action on your dreams, reconnecting you with your why and giving you the how. I'm here to dish out actionable mindset tips and fun industry secrets to help you blow up your biz. From eye-opening reality checks to motivational gold, no two episodes are ever the same. So tune in weekly, skip the FOMO, and let's dive into the deep together. So Morgan, just taking us back when we first did the Wedding Photography Summit in 2020, and then I rang you up and I had this idea.
Yeah.
Let's sort of go over when all that happened. Like, do you remember when I kind of pitched the idea to you and what kind of went through your head?
Well, we were in lockdown and I'd actually moved back home and you gave me a random call with some wild idea, because I remember I was staying at the back of Lydia's nan's joint because we escaped the city to get out of COVID, and you just called me and was like, I've got this mad idea. I've seen a few other summits around the joint, and I reckon that we can bring one to the wedding space.
Yeah, I think, and I remember like saying the idea to you was like, it kind of evolved from, I knew that everyone loved the workshops when we did Free the Bird workshop. And so everyone would talk about the workshops all the time. And then the next evolution of that was like, let's get on a podcast then, because if we're like teaching everybody, the more people we teach, the better. So I'll get on the podcast and start teaching everyone. And then we were doing those webinars and it was just such a hard grind because it was like we're showing up all the time doing that. And then my idea was like, wait a second, if people that do my webinars love that, all I need to do is teach everyone on the planet, and then like all at once, and then that way like we're sort of batch editing everything. And then so when I contacted you, I was like, man, this is gonna be a wild idea, especially because we're in lockdown, but what if we run it and we had like, I think I said like 10,000 people at this workshop and we get the best speakers ever, and we just organize all this. And it was probably the time frame was like maybe 8 weeks to 6 weeks. And then we were just like, what do you reckon that's the next step for us?
Yeah, I remember that convo because we went together, like Warner was 3 hours away where I was staying at that time, and we hadn't been working together for like a month or two, and we would have a phone call.
Oh, you were on holidays, I reckon.
Yeah, because I was on like government pay because we didn't have any work happening. Yeah. So you'd call me like once a week, and I'd just stand out the front because we were in a tiny little 1-bedroom unit, and we would just brainstorm stuff for like an hour or two once a week. And the summit came from one of them little brainstorms, I reckon.
Awesome. And then it was like, all right, let's make this happen. Like, how can we do that?
Yeah, how can we actually do it? Especially now that we're in lockdown. So then what happened? Then I like was able to come back up to Melbourne. I think we must have came out a bit of lockdown or something.
Yeah, there was a period there where we sort of came out for a little bit. And then we kind of got together and we were like, all right, let's make this happen. And I remember like getting into a room with you and just thinking like, we literally had no idea on step one. It was like, what do we do? But we gave ourselves the dates. So we're like, this is the date we'll do it. It was like the 21st and 22nd of November or something like that.
These are the goals.
We want 10,000 people. So we knew that. And then it was like, step one, what do we do? And I remember standing there with you thinking like, well, we need software. We need to run some ads. Like, we need to do something. Which at that stage, I've never run ads on that scale before or done any of those things. But I remember the first thing we talked about was like, let's get the speakers first. Because if we get big speakers, then other people want to come. And so I remember you were saying like, we should write out like a real nice email and stuff. And I was like, nah, man, we don't have time for that.
DM them.
Yeah, I was like, let's just send them a voice message right now, or like a video message.
Yeah, true. It was just like, you were just doing
that second, yeah. And then I remember I grabbed my phone and then straight away I just started, talking to Jonas and introducing myself like, and by the end of the day, I think I talked to everyone just going like, I got this crazy idea. What do you think?
And that was pretty gnarly actually, because like, I remember we were talking about Jose Villa, because this was 2020, wasn't it? First one. And we had Jordan there as well. And we were like, oh, if we got Jose Villa, that would be like absolutely mad. And then you sent him a DM. He said something like, maybe next year. But he didn't completely shut it down, because I like sort of thought that we might just completely get shut down. But he's like, maybe next year.
Yeah, he was like, thanks for the invite and stuff. It's last minute, and like think it'd be next time, he said.
And that was cool. And then the next year we got him.
Yeah, I was straight back. All right. There's been other people too. Like we tried to get Nirav Patel. He actually shot my wedding, and we tried to get him at the first summit. I tried really hard.
Since.
Yeah, and then I've tried again on the next summit.
How
and
many
then
times
the next
do you reckon
one.
you've DM'd him, asked him to do something for you?
My DM with him is like backwards and forwards of me asking him in a different angle, in a different way, trying to make it happen, and him rejecting me in different ways. And it's all because like it's just not the right fit for him or whatever. It's nothing to do with the summit.
It's funny the amount, like, because we want him so bad because he would be amazing.
Yeah.
But just the amount of times you've asked. I think it's because he's never, has he actually shut it down? Is that why the conversation has never ended? No,
it's definitely been shut down. Yeah. Like every time. But it's, like I've said to you before, like there's a no and there's a no. And one no is like when someone really shuts it down, and the another no is like, yeah, they just need some persuasion. And I've kind of just seen it as like, yeah, I just need to warm him up. Like he said no now, but maybe he's thought about it. And I think, I don't know, I'm not one to take any kind of rejection because I'm usually pretty good at getting what I want with persistence.
So basically you're going to ask him to come to the next one?
I've already asked him, yeah. But like going back, man, here was a couple of things, right? Just reversing back 3 months prior to the summit. We just launched the business map. We just kind of dug ourselves out of a hole. Like we were going nowhere quick, and then we got out of that. And then we were like, okay, so to grow from here, let's go all in on this workshop. And we gave ourselves a budget. And when we like work out businesses, because this is a full new business, it's kind of like on a napkin, you write it down like, all right, we're probably going to need about $100,000 for ads and for like, you know, this and that, and kind of working out a few stats. Nothing was actually known. Like we didn't know if people could buy tickets or how much money would make or not make or lose, or like we just had no idea. But it was like just bring lots of value to a lot of people on steroids, and then people will love it. And I think that's what people needed in 2020. It was like that extra motivation and that extra kick. And I was like, if we can just do that, man, even if we wasted $100,000, it doesn't matter because we're bringing so much value to people. And I think it was needed at that exact moment.
Yeah, so true.
But yeah, it was funny sort of like brainstorming it. And then I guess we really had 6 weeks to try and piece the whole thing together.
Yeah, that was mad. I remember you telling me to try and figure out the back end, and me like all the systems and websites and stuff we're going to use.
We jumped on the wrong thing to start off with, didn't we?
Not going to call them out, but yeah, on YouTube, like just getting bad information.
Yeah.
Well, there was actually lots of information on it because lots of people are doing it, but I feel like all the summits that everyone's doing are
horrible.
Well, they're just so small. It's like, yeah, they don't have heaps of people going. So the other summits that we were seeing, I reckon they were getting like, 1,000 people or something. And straight away, we'd never ran one. And your goal was 10,000 straight up.
Yeah, I even listened to a summit podcast. It was pretty hilarious. And they were talking some stats and some stuff. And I was like, man, this is so small time compared to what we're trying to think.
And the way that they're running it was so different. Like no one was charging anything. Yeah. Straight up.
It's always free.
We said, let's make it $7. Well, at the start, we probably were thinking free actually. Mm-hmm. And we were thinking affiliates, and affiliates is what was going to bring in all the people. Way more complicated.
We brainstormed the most complicated way you could possibly think of.
And then I remember you called me because we were looking through, doing it through that other software. And you called me and you were like, hey, how about we just do it the way that we've already done our business map and all that? And it was like, easy.
It's funny how I think for some reason this happens a lot. Like we start somewhere, then we overcomplicate it for ourselves. We spend a lot of time on it. Then we always cut all that crap out and go back to what we know. Yeah. And I feel like we do that cycle for everything.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like, it's so true. It's interesting with the summit.
Yeah. So the summit was interesting because we had to, so one of the first things I invested in, which not many people know, was a coach for ads. Like an actual business coach. I was like, man, this is the perfect time for me to get this business coach. He's really expensive. I think I paid like 20 grand or something. And I was so nervous about that. And I was like, I need him because we've never done ads before. on this scale. And if I'm spending 100 grand, then 20 grand is nothing if I can get an extra bit of return.
So this was pre-summit?
This is before the summit, yeah.
Oh.
And so I was like doing coaching with him to understand the ads. And I only had a couple of weeks because we had to turn on ads that are the hardest ads you can run because it's for an event. So it's only open, like there's no data. You have to get it right the first time because there's no repeat and you have no time to get much data at all. So it's because it's such a volume, like if you're spending at the end we're spending about $5,000 a day or something, and if you're spending that much without data and without actually knowing what you're doing, I was like, fuck, this is actually pretty scary, like a scary thing. Like your life savings are literally just getting sucked out the back door. So I got him and he helped me with just thinking of I guess just like a way to run the ads, and he gave us a few tips and few things, and that money definitely paid for itself, which was good. And I think just giving me the confidence was the main thing, because like I didn't want to turn on those ads and go, fuck, not that I'm losing the money, but like what could I have done? Then that's what I was worried about. What
made you think that it was worth throwing all that money into it? Like not
the
knowing
summit or the coach?
The summit. Like seeing the 70,000 left over in the bank account or whatever it was.
Man, this is an awesome question. I think, like, I was thinking about this morning. Like, the things that we've done in our business has always been because we've been able to do what other people would never do. And, like, so I always think about that. Other people were doing workshops. Other people were doing courses. And I was like, you know what they've never done and they wouldn't do? Spend 100 grand on putting together the biggest conference in the world and streaming it. No one would do that. And so for me, that's kind of like how I judge if something's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm like, I know people would do it, but people, they just wouldn't risk themselves like that.
I remember when we were in the planning stage, I was thinking like, oh, you know, this is such a good idea. Like, hopefully, you know, this is going to blow up. So many people are going to come. And then I was like, oh, but everyone else is going to do this. Like, everyone's going to realize how amazing this is. And you said something like, man, they won't, because like, look how much work we're doing right now. Look how much we're stretching ourselves. You're like, people won't do it because it's a lot of work, and they'll start and then they'll realize this is hard.
Man, the thing is, like, as soon as, like, you can always outwork people. And like, I've realized that from the very beginning, since I was an apprentice, since before I was even an apprentice, even applying for a job, I knew if I outworked everyone else applying for the job, I would get the job, right? And so it's even the same as now. It's like, man, we can outwork all the competition because people want to do bare minimum. That's why they get sucked into the get rich quick schemes. And that's why people always like get stuck on doing the wrong thing with marketing, because they're trying to replicate what someone else has done or trying to take out the easy way. But if you can outwork people and you can take on more risk that other people definitely won't, then you're in new territory. And I think that's like really important. And you know, the bigger the risk, the bigger you can fail, but then the bigger the reward as well. So we grew that business from $0 to 6 figures in 6 weeks. So, you know, people spend fucking years trying to build a 6-figure business.
I remember you asking me about that 6 weeks. Like, I remember you asking how long we need for it.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't say 6 weeks. I reckon I said 6 months.
Well, actually, remember I listened to a podcast and it told me that it's like you need at least...
Yeah, true.
What was it, like 6 months or something lead up because of the marketing, because of all the work in it. And I was like, yeah, we can do it in 6 weeks, man. Yeah. But because, like I said before, it's like most people would do it in 6 months. That means we can do it in 6 weeks. And that's literally the logic behind it. It wasn't anything strategic or anything. It was just like... It's kind of like when Google Maps says it's going to take you 20 minutes to walk there, and it's like, I know I can do it in 7.
What makes you have the confidence to think, let's do it in 6 and not 6 months? Is it because you know that you're just going to outwork people?
Yeah, like I know that I can sleep less than everyone. I know I can get more resourceful. I know I can get more help than anyone.
Do you think people are just walking around like being busy and not actually doing anything?
I think most people, I would say 95% of people are busy, man. Everyone that says they're busy to me, like I look at them and I'm like, I know you're not busy.
I gotta stop saying I'm busy here at work.
I know you're not doing anything. If you were doing something, you wouldn't be standing in front of me right now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you'd be out doing something. I'd be seeing you from afar going, oh my God, that dude does everything. Look at him. Like, fuck. How'd they even do it? But someone's standing in front of you going, I'm busy.
That's stop telling me.
What else was crazy about it? Man, okay, let's go.
I'm trying to think of the mad deadlines we had. 6 weeks.
Okay, deadlines. Let's talk about that, because when people think 6 weeks, they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty achievable. So let's talk about 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, we had to build, on day one, okay, things that we did on day one. Contacted all the speakers. We had to buy a new domain name. We had to create a new website. So that was all on day one. And then day 2, day 3, day 4 we had to create branding assets. We had to create the actual website, the landing page. We had to have terms and conditions. We had to have contracts for speakers. We had to have onboarding for speakers. We had to have sales funnel. We had to have checkouts. We had to have the program where we could host it. We had to have the hardware sorted out, which was like, that was your role, working out all the hardware and stuff. We had to have all the software to make it work. We had to have...
Twice as hard, because you do everything twice as well. You do the wrong one and then you figure out the right one.
Yeah, I know.
You have to learn. Like you told me, like you have to learn how to stream things online to possibly 10,000 people.
Yeah.
When I've done none of that before.
You streamed to 0,000 people.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not something you could find. Like, I remember you even, like, not complaining, but you did put something forward of like, this is taking a bit long. There is no resources on the internet for this. No one's done this. And if they have, they've never shared it, because it's just, there's no one, right? And so then, like, for us to even work out what cable do we need to use? What's this little stream key? How do we do our chat? How do we embed this? Like, whatever it is, tiny little things. It's like, what do we use? We don't know. So we had to actually test all that stuff, do it all ourselves, and work it all out. And it's freaking hard, man.
Yeah.
Because you and I are both not geniuses when we come to software and hardware. Like, we're just making stuff up. We're not trained on any of this stuff.
Yeah, it's like even Siraj asked me about cameras here. I'm like, I don't know what anything's called. I just know how to turn it on and use it.
Yeah, I know that cord goes to that cord and something lights up and then boom.
This makes it look real good.
I know how to turn it on to 10,000 people. Oh, they're making the dream work.
Yeah, so true. I remember like that first summer in particular, like just about to go live, and all the streaming, like everything we'd learned over that past 6 weeks, and all the streaming was on my shoulders. And clicking like go live, I was like, fuck.
You look pretty nervous.
I was like, please.
But how crazy was it? It was all the, like, okay, just to put the weight on your shoulders, right? So we invested $100,000. We had 8,159 people that just bought a ticket that we have to deliver to now. We have all the speakers that are like have expectations of what this is going to be, even though we didn't even know what it was going to be. We had all this stuff, and then it all just plugged into a little ADSL, internet socket in the wall at some venue, and we didn't even know if it was going to be running fast enough. And then everything, like I just think about it, like everything we just did was all just plugged into this tiny little thing, and it's like, man, hopefully the internet doesn't cut out, because otherwise we're screwed. And that was it.
Plus it's 4 a.m. because we're streaming to America and stuff.
Okay, so that was another thing. So, and a lot of people don't realize this, but it was we did it in American time, so it was like PST at the time. And that meant all our speakers were in America, which meant if I wanted to talk to them leading up to the summit, which there was a lot of backwards and forwards and like getting on Zoom calls and stuff. So I'd be scheduling Zoom calls for like 3 a.m. and 2 a.m. just to make it work for the speakers. So I was getting up all the time, trying to hustle them, trying to get them on board, help them with their presentations, like whatever it is. And then just running the thing, having like all of our staff there, having everyone there at 4 o'clock in the morning. That means you have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you have to have a shower and everything, drive out there, and then you've got to be prepared. And then I had to present for 10 hours. You're streaming for 10 hours like per day. And I think, and we had no idea what to do. Like I realized on the first day we were way understaffed, and I had to bring more people in the second day, just because like there was, if you imagine 8,000 people, there was like hundreds, if not thousands, of DM messages on social media and all over, our emails, and it was a mega structure.
Realized we were severely understaffed. Didn't you because Andy was there shooting some video for us?
Yeah.
you hit up his partner to come in and send DMs off your Instagram.
Well, we didn't think of, because we were so busy doing everything and we got no project manager or no help, we didn't even think about getting food. And so Andy's like, oh, we should get some food. So he contacted his partner, Jessie, and then Jessie came in, and then she was like, oh, you need a haircut. And we've been in lockdown, so I didn't have a haircut. So she, just before we went live, she's in there like chopping my hair. And then she brought some food, and then I was like, tomorrow, can you come and work for us? Because I literally need you. Like, we need more people. So I was like trying to get anyone in just to make the dream work.
It's amazing, isn't that? Yeah, I remember Jordan talking about food. He's like, you guys don't eat, man. Like, I got to bring my own lunch because you guys aren't prepared.
There was a couple other things that we wanted to accomplish in this workshop. I think I remember telling you how, like, and we went backwards and forwards on this as well. It was like, I really wanted to pay all the speakers. We went backwards and forwards because we were like, well, no one else does and we don't really need to. And people would talk at this because they're getting a massive audience and, you know, there's massive benefits for all the speakers and stuff. And I was like, no, I was adamant. It's like, no, man, we need to be the workshop that actually pays everyone. Because I was sort of like a little bit jaded by like how, you know, no one's really paid me through a lot of different workshops. And people always contact us like, can you talk for free or whatever.
Work for exposure,
yeah. And I just was like really against that. So one of the things was like, let's make sure we put a budget to the side and make it, even though we're selling tickets for $7, let's make sure we pay everyone and we will work out how to make that extra money, but we budgeted in. So when we said 100,000 on everything, it was also like including like making sure we pay all the speakers as well. So going into it, that was factored in, that we were going to have money set aside, even though we didn't have the money, but we knew we were going to make it somehow to pay those speakers. And I guess like after the summit, there has been a lot of people that have copied us, and there's been a lot of summits that have popped up and stuff. But the thing they haven't copied is they don't pay any of the speakers. So I've actually talked to the couple because they've been like a connection or whatever it is. But yeah, they don't pay the speakers, and I think it's so weird that like you can change some things, but then people will run with the idea, but they don't run with the idea of how much I was driving home. It's like, you need to pay the speakers because they're the ones that you're selling their education and their time and, you know, their expertise and stuff, and why people are going there. And so, yeah,
that was a little game changer for us. I actually remember when we were brainstorming about paying the speakers and like setting the price $7 for Summit, I was like worried that they would think we're just trying to make money. So we were like, you know, figuring out what the price had to be and like how we can deliver it to all the speakers, that like, we're not here to make money. We're getting the $7 to cover the ticket. We're still paying you guys. Like, yeah, I just remember that feeling like, oh, I hope they don't think we're just trying to, you know, get them here to then make heaps of money off them.
Yeah, there was so much backwards and forwards, because it's one thing that's like, when you mix business with people, and yeah, there's just so many little facets to it. So you got to make sure, like, how do people perceive us when they're buying a ticket? How do they feel, like, value-wise when they're, like, getting what they get? And then how do the speakers feel, and if they feel valued?
Yeah, totally, which is so important, because they're keeping the whole thing afloat, and they're the ones that are, like, making it as amazing as it can be.
Exactly. So yeah, that was just like a little game changer, but it was like really straight down. I was like, there's no way we're going to run something like this. Imagine running something like this and not paying the speakers. And so I want to say, like, the ones that have tried to copy us, they've always failed. And I don't want to say it's because they don't pay the speakers, but it does put something out there that doesn't sit right with a lot of people. And people get pretty jaded pretty quick when someone's making a lot of money and then everyone else is not making any money, you know? So that was interesting.
Well, when you can prove to them that we're not like trying to use them to make money.
Yeah.
By paying them and showing them that it's only $7 a ticket and whatnot.
And I think also
makes our job way easier locking people in.
It's also like one thing that was really important is we ran the summit so transparent that we gave all the figures to the speakers of how much we actually made, how it all worked, like basically everything, how much we actually spent on marketing, like all that
which
kind of
it wasn't actually about. It wasn't about making the money at all, was it? It was about covering the 70,000 that we put in, sort of thing.
Yeah, it was just like, how can you break even and then have? There was like two things. Like, one is like, educators weren't doing anything because all the conferences closed down and stuff. So it's like educators could all of a sudden get audience, things could move again, and they're getting paid for work. Then wedding photographers weren't shooting anything. They ran out of income. So it's like they could actually learn. They didn't have to travel anywhere for a conference that had all been shut down. And they had affordable education where they basically didn't really have to pay, and then they could kickstart their career back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
So it was like a big triangle win-win-win, I guess. And it was like, for us, it's that's what the summit's about. It's just like the most important thing, that everyone feels like they're just having a good time, you know?
After having such a big year the first year and like, you know, we didn't hit our 10,000 attendees goal. We hit 8. But like after, like, we felt like we won even getting 8,000, didn't we? That was
definitely. It was huge.
Biggest thing ever. Covered our losses, and it was like, yes, like, you know, we didn't lose 70 grand. We're still a thing.
Yeah. We're back.
You still got a job, Morgo.
Yeah.
How's it feel to then go and do the next summit and only get 4,000? And why do you think that happened?
Yeah, so the next one that we put on, if anyone doesn't know, like, the goal was still 10,000, and then we hit 4,000. Spent the same amount on ads and everything. So we actually spent way more money on the second one. And
why do you think that is?
Yeah, there were some massive mistakes that we made.
Why did we spend so much more on advertising there?
A couple of different reasons. Like, one is like Facebook ads have changed in the 6 months, which was interesting. Another thing is like people get used to seeing something and then they react less. So there was a few marketing things that didn't work the second time after it worked the first time. So for instance, the first time it was like more of a shock factor of like a $7 ticket, and this is like an amazing thing. Then after our first one, a whole lot of people sort of flooded the market and did the same thing. So then when ours came out again, it wasn't as strong. So I think that was like played a little factor in it.
So it wasn't just because you saw that we weren't getting as many sales and you were just pumping cash in the ads?
No, I wasn't pumping cash in the ads, but it cost a lot more for the second one to acquire someone. So like for those that don't know, like it generally costs about $20 to $25 to get someone to buy a ticket for $7, you know, through ads. So when you think about that, it's really expensive. And so the reason why it works out for me is because organic marketing. So that means like if you paid that much money and we got 2,000 people, but then we had 2,000 people from organic, which I didn't have to pay for, it means it kind of averages it down to like $7, if that makes sense. But it was like a huge, I guess for me, it felt like a big flop, the second one. In
still
a lot of ways.
Amazing to bring all them people together, but yeah.
No, it was amazing. It was literally amazing. Like the thing was incredible. And I think for me, it's like, if I'm not growing, I'm dying. And I felt like I was dying because it was like, things are not growing. And the second one was better in a lot of ways. It was run probably a little bit more professionally. There was a lot more, I think, like hard hitting content. Like people realized that this thing is awesome. People that showed up, it was like really next level, like especially after they've been to the first one and second one. But another mistake that I made was I kind of got some advice from a few different people, like podcasts and things like that, and they were saying like, if you ever run these things, especially if you're charging a low amount, you should only have live only, not 24-hour replay. And so I was like, oh, everyone else, and I noticed everyone else just does live only. I was like, let's do live only. Because we set the expectations of 24-hour replay on the first one, people felt like they were getting ripped off now, paying $7 for live only. Even though to counteract that, we made the 12-month access from $97 to $47, so we halved that to sort of make it fair for everyone. Yeah, people didn't respond well to that, and people were really upset. And even when they bought tickets, they were really annoyed. And
it's funny you say that, because like at the first summit, we looked at what everyone else was doing and was like, you know, let's redesign that whole thing. And we did redesign it. And then
on the second one, we kind of went back to other people's stuff.
Went back, and then we did worse.
Yeah, and so I think well, one thing was I like apologized to everyone, and I actually gave them 24 hours access plus a little bit more, so that was really good. But one thing I realized is like, man, all these, you got to do stuff for the people, not for us, right? So 24 hours is easier for us. We don't have to do captions. We don't have to do, we were doing Spanish captions and things like that. It was easier for us on the back end because we didn't have to quickly upload things. We didn't have to quickly write descriptions. Like there was a lot of hard work that goes into it. And I was like, oh, this is why everyone does it. It's just so much easier. But I realized like you can't take the easy route for yourself when it's at the expense of our clients, our customers. and the people. So we had to go back to the people and go like, what do you guys actually want? Oh, you want 24 hours? We have to give you that. No matter, even if we have to stay up all night making all those extra changes every night to make that happen, like we have to do it. And so we went back to that, and then everybody was like really happy again. But it obviously stunted any kind of sales coming in, and yeah, it was just like a big learning curve, I guess.
You're right though. I feel like obviously all the things we do, they get better with time. Yeah. And I feel like the processes and what we did with the second summit was better. Like good content, everything was a way easier workflow. We weren't understaffed on the day. You had someone on your DMs and things like that. We had lunch. I feel like, yeah, everything we do just gets better and better. So like for the next summit, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've got heaps of hope for this next summit. I feel like it's going to be the biggest one that we've done.
I think it definitely is going to be, in my like opinion. I think we learnt so much from both, and we realised our mistakes on the second one. And I think I've got to be honest with everybody. I was feeling entitled on the second one. Like I was like, yeah, everyone loved the first one. People were just going to buy tickets, and we know entitlement kills business, you know. And like, so why did I act like that? I think I was complacent. I thought people were just going to buy tickets. I thought like we gave a lot and didn't expect much in return. And I thought I was entitled. And so I realized I lost my hustle in that sense. Like it's not where I thrive, you know, like I don't thrive on that at all. And I actually hate that. So for me, it was like going back into this next summit, we've really planned things out, and we are going back to, you know, kind of like to the first summit again. It's like short deadlines, planning things out properly, making sure that it's for our people. So one of the KPIs is like, how can you have the best community possible so people feel amazing? So it's like redoing the onboarding, and, you know, it's different KPIs to what a lot of people usually do. So they always do like, how do you make money? We're just going like, how do we throw value at people? So it's going to be fucking incredible, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you excited about for the next one that you think might be different, or why it might be bigger?
Oh, everything. I feel like all our ideas with our businesses, I say our businesses because you're always including me in on the businesses, but I feel like everything we do just gets better, and our like the little dreams that we have, the little brainstorms we have over the phone, they just get bigger basically. So like now we're able to do more things, like the ad campaigns we're thinking of that we were talking about the other night. Like everything just gets better. I went from like learning how to shoot on a Sony, you basically paying me to learn how to shoot some video, to now, you know, we can buy a really good cinema camera, and like
just directing and stuff.
We could hire a cinematographer if we wanted. Like nothing's off limits anymore. So for me, like, yeah, it's amazing that I get to work on like a little bit of the production and stuff, but we're just getting so many more tools in the bag.
It almost feels like before, and this is the truth, before we were in survival mode. It was totally. Like, it was like, but don't buy that camera, it's too expensive, let's get this one. And then let's have the bare minimum of all tools.
Which, like, just before, for example, you were updating the Adobe suite, and you were like, I think I'm on the student account. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I remember when I started, we were using my uni student account.
I know. So it's like, you know, you do whatever it takes.
That's
and
hilarious.
I think something shifted this year where we've gone from survive to thrive, which means like thrive means, in every sense of the word, it's thrive for everyone. And people don't realize this, you get better clients, you end up having better products, you're having better output. The more that you can charge, the better everything gets. The more that we can have tools at our disposal, the more we can create. And so it's like this snowball effect. So not only do we thrive, but our students thrive. Like the people in our community thrive. The staff thrive. Like everyone thrives. And so it's really important to remember that, like, I guess like the space that we're going into, that's really what it's all about. It's like, how can we create something now that's next level, that's making us curious and like excited and nervous as hell, because we've never done something as big as we're about to do for this summit. You know?
So true. Yeah, that's an awesome way to put it. Like the more we're pushing ourselves to that next limit, which means we're trying to produce something that's way better and given way more value and just way better in all senses of the word.
Hey, can I quickly read you something? I was going to send you this on the weekend, and this is really funny. So I read this blog post, and it was about entrepreneurship versus managers. And so just to read this top little paragraph here. It says, the role of the entrepreneur, simply put, is to create value for the customer. While this is easier said than done, it places value first and cost second. This is fundamental importance. Without value, any cost assumed by the business is not only unnecessary, but can only lead to failure. The guiding light for entrepreneur decision-making should thus be what benefits the customer. I thought that was really interesting. Then manager was like, as soon as value has been created and thus the business opportunity has been established, it is time to shift gears and put on the manager's hat. While somewhat simplified, the proper role for the entrepreneur is to identify and create the value of the business, and then the manager is to maximize the outcome, yes, profit and the opportunity of what the entrepreneur makes.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, man, that's so interesting, because like every decision that like I ever make is always, it's never the manager's role. Like I'm always like, even the next one, it's like, man, like I don't know when people are going to be listening to this, so I don't want to give away the secret that we're giving out to the next one, but it was like, I'm investing so much into this and logistics is going to be crazy. I haven't got out my calculator to see if it's going to work or not, because it's not the metric. I'm like, but the value we're bringing people, Morgan, it's worth it. And then you're always like, yeah, I think so as well. And so that's the metric. It's like, imagine people's faces when they see what's going on. You know, like,
that's so funny, because it just makes you think of all the businesses we've worked on. They're always evolving, and we're never talking about managing it.
No,
we're talking about improving it and
growing it and bringing more value.
Yeah, making something better and better. And that's why we've done, so many businesses in the past.
And I guess that's why at some point I'm going to have to hire a manager so that we can actually make money and like things can actually work repeatedly the same all the time. Because right now, like, I guess I do get so caught up in innovating all the time. Like I want to over-innovate everything.
Which is where all the fun is, though. That's where we get the kick out of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like as soon as we finished the last summit, all we were talking about is the next summit. We weren't even talking about the one we just did.
Yeah, we're like, imagine getting like Gary Vee, imagine getting like big speakers, imagine doing this. And it was like straight into it. And then it was like, let's plan this thing, it's going to be massive. And
as soon as it's finished, we're just thinking how to make it better, which is pretty interesting, isn't that?
It's not only just like how to make it better. I was like on both summits and every launch that I've ever done, I always like go into like, what didn't we do at the very best, And so I think that's like really important, because even now, like people might interact with my products and they're like, that's not the best I've ever had. Like, I don't know what Jai's doing. The thing is, I don't hold myself back and try and perfect anything. We're not trying to do the best. We're trying to be better every time. So when we like release something, maybe it's not the best, but next time it's going to be much better, and then it's going to be much better, and then it's going to be much better, and we can outwork and outgrow everyone because we made a start without trying to be perfect. I think that's like really, really important thing to remember.
It makes me think about what you were talking about this morning with posting on Instagram, like having a, what do they call it?
A schedule.
Like you don't do any of that. As soon as you've got something in your head and there's a photo in front of you, bang.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't like a piece of content that me or Siraj make, personally, you still like bang straight on the account.
Yeah, like just creating.
Getting better.
It gets better and better, and I think it lets everyone like thrive as well. Because even if I don't like it, it's like it's a team effort, and I think someone's gonna like it. But the thing is, I don't know what people like, so it's not up to me to stop things because it might land on someone. And if I didn't try, I will never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think so many people, they take other people's opinions, or they make something up in their head without any data. And it's like, man, post it, create it, get rid of it, make it happen, get it in front of people, see what happens. If it didn't work, pivot, change, adapt, innovate.
It's like not figuring it out and taking action, basically. Like post it, and then you can realize why it didn't do so well or whatever, but at least it's out there, and now I can think about the next one.
You also get surprised as well of like how you thought something wasn't going to work, and then you're like, fuck, it's actually, that's amazing. I didn't think that was going to happen from that content.
We're so mean to ourselves and such a harsh critic and like comparing and whatnot, especially on Instagram. But I remember, it reminds me of like when I started shooting video and you were paying me to learn how to do it. Like the videos we were shooting, we were liking. We were like, oh, whoa, that looks sick, Morgan. Like you've done well. And then now we look back and we go, whoa, that's horrible. So it's so interesting, like, I don't know, just perceptions changing and like learning from it.
It's the creative process, isn't it? And I think because we are creative entrepreneurs, not just entrepreneurs, so it's like we got to realize, like, man, all the work that we create, even today, like sometimes I look at all of our work and I'm like, this is not the best I've ever seen. And I know that, and I'm like, post it, and then I know that in a year's time we're gonna look back and go, oh geez, that was garbage. And it's like important to get past and make sure we post the garbage, because it's like a learning curve every time, like a little bit better. Just learn a new trick, learn a new shortcut, learn a new like whatever it is.
Sounds like we're on a treadmill, doesn't it?
It is. I think, I think it is. And I think not enough people get up off the couch to get on the treadmill. That's the problem. You know, like you can get so lazy with content, with your business, with innovation, with trying to copy people. Like so many people are trying to find the shortcut, you know, instead of exercising, they'll take a diet pill. And so it's like, you know, that all you have to do is go and exercise. You're going to feel better and you're going to create more and stuff. So weird analogy that we just did a spin on. But yeah, I think the last two summits have been pretty wild, and I think I've learnt a lot and
so much fun. Like, I don't know how much more fun you can have than running the summit. Straight after we did it, I was like, poof, like what an event, like what a thing that we've just, especially the first one being only 6 weeks, like me and you just looking at each other and going like, man, that was fun. And like how wild.
It's like, holy shit.
We didn't hit our goal, but we felt like we did. And it was like a mad celebration.
Yeah. And I don't think, I think that we probably both get too caught up in the work that we don't really celebrate that much. But I think like even just going back to all the DMs, how much, you know, an event like that helped people, change people's lives, connected them with other people, you know, they learned something new, they got inspired, like whatever it is, there's always like something. And like you forget the impact that something like this has on that many people and a whole industry as well. Like it has an impact on a whole industry, and you're so caught up in, like you're saying, making a video, posting something, you forget that like what we're doing can be bigger than us, I guess.
Is bigger. Yeah, no, it was amazing. Loved it.
Yeah, and I think next summit is going to be epic. One thing that Morgan and I have that we didn't have before is we've got more team members. And I feel like it feels more supportive having more people. Like it feels like there's more people in our corner to make the dream work, opposed to before where it was like, man, if I'm not doing something, nothing's happening.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that was really hard, and it's taken me a while to sort of let go. Like even getting Mel to write the emails at the moment, like sort of scheduling things and stuff. I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to let go of that. But the more I let go of things, I'm like, the better everything goes, you know? And so I guess there's just so much growth in business all the time, and we're learning new things and innovating new things, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be a different summit. It's going to be awesome, I reckon.
Yeah. And we bought a whole studio, and we're going to be able to broadcast it here. And one of the reasons being is because we can control the internet here, and we can control our surroundings, and we can control the light and the noise and everything like that. And like for those that didn't know, like we were pretty out of control before, just sort of in the back of someone's warehouse thing. And yeah, it's just like, I guess running something like we charged $7 for this thing, but we acted like people paid $1,000 a ticket. So we weren't just going to do like a crappy Zoom call and like, you know, like what you see everyone do out there. We're like, man, we're not doing that. Like, no, I don't care if people pay us nothing. We're going to make sure it's $1,000 worth of value. And so like each time, like we spend money on like set design and, you know, like making sure the lighting's awesome and everything's awesome, because it's like, why not work to our potential, not to the paycheck? You know, we know we can do better. And if we know we can, then we must.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so many people behind the scenes of that summit, from like lighting, the whole hangings joint, the set design.
And then this time, man, huge. Like just support team. Like that's a whole team we're going to have. Just support. Like someone on Zoom talking to people, someone on Drift talking to people, someone on email, someone on my Instagram. Like to think about that is just, there's a lot to do.
At least we got more than 6 weeks this time.
Yeah. You got any last thoughts or anything you want to share about the summit, about I guess like the last, like here's a crazy thing, man. The summit is a massive event, massive business, and people know it and like it. It hasn't even been around for 10 months yet.
Yeah, it's not even a year old.
Yeah. So when I said like 6 figures to 6, like what was the 6 figures in 6 weeks? Like that business grew from 0 to 6 figures to pulling in 6 figures to doing the whole thing, paying people, like all that within 6 weeks. And it hasn't even been a year yet, and the thing is growing. We've had some of the biggest speakers in the world. We've definitely had the biggest wedding photographers in the world, like talking at it. It's been shared by thousands and thousands of people. The stats are crazy on everything. So I think 10 months in business for that business is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it definitely is. No, it's a wild ride to be on. Like, all the stuff that we work on, this is definitely one of the ones that I really like, and yeah, loving it. So happy to be a part of it.
Sweet. Hey, and if you guys want to get tickets to the next Wedding Photography Summit, head over to weddingphotographysummit.com. You can put in your... I don't know if you can buy a ticket. I don't know when this is coming out, but otherwise you can join the wait list. Morgan's laughing at me. Join that wait list because we've actually got some pretty cool stuff coming out in pre-sale. We got front row seats, plus we have something else, and I know it's going to sell out. And so if you don't get onto the pre-sale, onto my mailing list, then you're not having the best chance to make sure that you snap it up before it's gone, before it comes out to everybody else. So head over to weddingphotographysummits.com. And if you want to find Morgan, he's got Instagrams, Morgan Vandermark. You can find him, or find him tagged in my feed. And you can reach out to me at jailong.co. If you like this podcast interview, make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.